How often in this fast-paced life have you stopped and wondered, what's going on? Who am I and what am I doing this for? What is the purpose of my life? What is the purpose of this existence? And what if tomorrow never comes? In a quest to get answers for all these questions, I am Padmini Pandit, and it's my utmost honor to bring you all the revered Puja Swami Abhishek Chaitanya Giri Maharaj.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Swamiji, for talking to us. We have a lot of questions for you. Swamiji is respectfully called the Mahamandaleshwar, the keeper and defender of Vedas. Well, before we begin, I have to mention that this is a very casual arrangement we have here, and Swamiji has been very kind and also very keen to answer all our curious questions about life and beyond. So what I'm going to do is, as soon as I have internet access, I'm going to publish this video on YouTube, and if you happen to see this any soon, and if you have any questions for Swamiji, please feel free, do not hesitate, just write it in the comments section, or you could, if you have my number, you could just PM me, and I promise you that I'll take all your questions to Swamiji and I'll make sure that all the answers reach you.
Well, friends, though there are questions, but I will be able to answer if I know the answers. So with my capacity and whatever is in my capacity, I'll sincerely try and give the answers.
Alright, Swamiji, so let's begin. The very first question I wanted to ask you sounds very simple, is what are Vedas? I mean, we all have heard of this word, but I think there's a lot of ambiguity in everybody's mind about it. So if you could just tell us.
Veda generally is understood as a very, very ancient text. But, and just because it is very ancient, because the language is not accessible to you, that is not what is the glory of that. Like, when we are talking about Veda, all that we mean is it is a source which allows you to see something which otherwise would not be possible with any other means of knowledge. And therefore, life and what is the ultimate purpose of life is one question or one area which doesn't seem to have any answer, even through the most, intelligent application of the brain. So therefore we require Vedas over here, and this is the glory, this is the greatness of Veda, that it is able to show you, it becomes a means of knowledge, to show you something that what we call as moksha and dharma. So these are the two areas which are illuminated by Veda.
I've also read that Hindu religion and Vedas are authorless. So what does that mean?
This is a very interesting question. Whenever we are going to talk about any form of literature, it means, and literature means it is a collection of words, a coherent, cogent collection of words. Now, Vedas by all means is over a lakh of mantras, statements, if you can say.
Yeah.
Now, if you have so many statements, which definitely is collection of words, that means it has to have some authorship. Somebody, a conscious being, has to put an effort to put the words together.
Exactly.
Because this is what we find, that I'm speaking, you are listening, and over here the sentences are framed because there is a conscious being applying his intelligence and making it coherent.
Correct.
To someone who is listening. We are saying that Veda as the source, the primordial source of knowledge. And this source of knowledge is in framework of words. But this has not been created by any rishi, any person. Rishis are people who have seen, who have known, who have received this knowledge, but these are not the people who have authored it, who have created it. We say that this is neither, it is the Purva Mimamsakas as well as the Uttar Mimamsakas. All of them are of this common opinion that it is not even authored by Ishvara. Yes.
Wow.
this is knowledge, and if you're going to say Ishvara has created this knowledge, which means before the creation of this knowledge, Ishvara is ignorant. Because if knowledge was not there, that means he had to be a fool. And then if this is some fool's work, then who wants it? But what is moksha? What is dharma? These are the areas which are shown to you by this Veda, and therefore this knowledge is inherent in this universe, in the totality. It is there. It is not created. It becomes accessible at different points of time to someone, but it is not created. So, in fact, we are going to say that it is tasya mahato bhutasya nishvasikam vedaha. It is something that is like breath of a living person. A breath of a living person is not something that he creates or he makes or he does.
Mm-hmm.
It is effortless. It is intrinsic. It is effortless. Like that, this knowledge is very intrinsic to this universe.
Wow. So you mean, of course, there has been somebody involved in writing it, but it's not coming from him.
Of course not. You can
it
write.
was just a channel.
Right. You can write, but you have stenos who write, but they are not. You don't call them as authors. They're mediums, but mediums don't become authors.
Wow.
Uh-huh.
I was also reading. It's on Wikipedia that. In contrast to other scriptures, Vedas are Sruti, something that is heard of, and not Smriti.
Shruti.
Correct, sorry. Shruti means that which is heard of.
That which is heard.
And not Smriti, not that which is remembered.
Right.
So,
not remembered means whenever a conscious person is going to create a work of words, a body of words, then it naturally is going to come from his memory. An independent work of a collection of words is something that is going to come from his memory.
Mm.
Okay?
Mm.
Memory just does not mean, what do they call, replication or duplication. Memory also means that where permutation, combination of words, memories is possible, and then something comes up new. Okay? But then those words have been there with you. You have known the application of the words. Now you are using the same words which were stored in the memory in a different, nyasa, paranyasa, in a different sequence. So you create a poetry which is yours. You have authored a work which is yours, but the words were there with you in memory. Shruti means, of course, that what is heard. Words by nature are sounds. Sounds which are perceived by your auditory faculty. And when those sounds start delivering the meaning to you, then those sounds are called as words. Words put together become sentences, statements, and they create a world of knowledge for you. So what we are saying over here is that by the very virtue of it being something that words which are capable of showing you, revealing the Dharma and Brahma, these words is something that is heard, not coming out of some person's memory.
wow.
It is heard, and that's why we are calling it Shruti. The Smritis also are independent works. People are creating. They are writing their own theses or commentaries or glosses. Or it could be altogether a different independent aces. But those works which are based or which are following the Shruti are all under the auspices of what is called as the Vedic literature, related to the Veda. And this is, therefore, that is Smriti And yet, it's in spite of it being a Smriti, it can either be in the category of the Vedic literature, or it could be outside this. So the Smritis are of two kinds.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
So, the mantras like Gayatri mantra or commonly known mantras, are they coming from Vedas?
Of course.
So they are.
They have. It is Shruti. It is basically Shruti.
The Mrityunjay mantra.
These are basically Shrutis.
Alright. Wow. Okay.
So we knowingly and unknowingly you are having those words. These words which are not a creation of any human being. Words have an application in human life, but words which are not a creation of human intelligence is something which is very interesting.
It is.
Yeah, it is.
Alright. So Swamiji, I have been introduced to Gita when I was very young. I was like literally a child. I remember my grandparents used to sit and make me read it. I was just reading it. I didn't know the meaning. Later in life, I'm sure like rest of the others, when I was in college, I had all these questions, always troubling me. So I thought, I don't know why, but I thought maybe Gita would have answers to all these questions. So I went and I bought a Gita for me, a book for me, and I started reading. And first time I read it, it was all, I didn't get anything, I didn't understand anything. Fortunately, I didn't give up, and I've been reading it all these years, and every time I read it, I understand something more, something different. I don't know how to put it in words, but every time there is a new perspective that I get out of it. The question that I wanted to ask was, I was recently reading one of the Gita.
I'll tell you something.
Yeah.
Every time that you're able to find something new is only an indication that you are growing, and hence you are able to see something new.
That makes me feel better. Okay, so recently I was reading one such take on Gita, which said, and apparently it's really popular, that Mahabharata actually physically never happened. It was just probably a metaphor, and the Pandavas are like 5 senses, and the Kauravas are like 100 vices that we all have. I would love to believe that is not true, but what do you think? I mean, what's your take on this?
Padmini, 2 things to be understood over here. One is, when it is reduced to a metaphor, it is either because we have not been able to verify it, or we are in a hurry either to destroy the existing understanding that it is a history which has taken place, actual events which have taken place in this Indian subcontinent. So by doing that, you will be the people who belong to that culture, who belong to this place. For you, for me, for all of us, knowingly and unknowingly, Ramayana and Mahabharata is right in our DNA. It does not take us anything different or to study to know Ramayana and Mahabharata. It almost comes to you right since the time you have really started understanding. So the first thing is that any such statement that it is not truly a history, but it is only a metaphorical exposition or explanation, a poetic liberty, would mean that when it is not based either on actual archaeological, historical evidence, or it could be a person's good nature that he wants to say that it is still applicable though it is not historical. But you can say that it is not historical only if the history or the historians or the researchers are able to say that nothing like this ever happened. But we do not have that advanced systems to say that it really never ever happened.
Right. In fact, there have been archaeological findings that Dwarka has been found under
It could
water.
be. So, it is too early to say that it never has happened.
Yeah.
So even to say that it is not anything really that happened, but it is only metaphorical. If the person has good intentions, but good intentions just does not matter, because a person with good intentions also can cause harm, and this person belongs to that category. But if somebody is just keen on saying it is metaphorical, without wanting to justify how applicable this Mahabharata or Ramayana is, he is systematically destroying the very fabric of the society, the psychology of that society, of that man. So I wouldn't give much importance to that, but I would explain it with whatever limited data that we have today. I would say, yes, we call it as Itihasa, Ramayana and Mahabharata. Both these epics, both these poetries, we call them as Itihasa, as history. Now when we are going to say history, history may not have had the same formula which the Western world and today's world follows. If history was only the record of dead events, and the study of such history would mean just living in a graveyard. It has got nothing for you, nothing for a new man, nothing for the future. But we are saying that history is not that. History means something that you learn from and progress even further. Then wherever there is education, then it is of value to the man, to any human being. If it is not going to educate, if it is not going to contribute in any way to the existing knowledge by increasing it, I feel that whole effort is futile. It is a futile effort. So when the records of this history, whether it is Vyasa or Valmiki, they have lived true to this definition, and they have seen that through the events, through the characters, through all these works, there is something for human beings to understand and progress. There is always something more to it. And therefore, our world is not a world of only physical events. We have a psychological world too. You are not just living only in physical world, you are living in psychological world too. And both of them merge. And do you know where do they merge? Do you have a line, clear defining line? This is it and this is not. When you are going to say this is a woman, she is a physical entity. But when you are going to say she is my wife, she is my sister, she is my mother, where is that? Where is that defining line? Where does that woman become a mother or a sister? So our worlds are always, the boundaries are very fluid. If you are going to find, you're not going to find a mother, you're going to find a woman. And therefore if I say that there was a woman and there was never a mother, because mother is only a metaphor, I am going to be very, very dishonest. Because there is a mother, I'm relating to mother, I'm relating to a sister, I'm relating to a wife. I have all this, and these entities are as real as this. I live in both the worlds. I have contact with both the worlds. And therefore one appears to be mythical, the other is physical. That what is physical is real, and this is not. This is totally dishonest.
That explains. Okay.
So those people who are making fun of it by saying that, well, there are flying monkeys, they have not really understood what it means. Nor is it just metaphorical.
Swamiji, another question related to Gita. What is karma? If I ask you to put it very simply, because again that is another thing. I think there's a lot of ambiguity globally. People are using this word these days. Karma. Everybody, even little kids say that this is your karma. I don't think everybody really understands what it means. So if you could just simply Tell it to our viewers.
Yeah, everybody is saying I love you.
Yeah, I love the t-shirt, I love the house, it's like that right there.
Whatever. Everybody is saying I love you, I love him, I love that.
Correct.
I mean, not necessarily people understand the word.
Correct.
It's just we're using words. We're using words. And when you use words without understanding them, you're actually abusing them.
I agree.
So, what happens is here, by the word karma, we necessarily mean an action. Okay? An action. So the action could be generated by your body, it could be generated by your speech, or it could be a mental action. Okay? So you have these three equipments with which actions become possible. That what is through the speech and through the body is manifest, that which is through the mind is unmanifest.
Correct.
When does an action become karma? When does the kriya become karma? And this line is wherever there is a presence of ownership of the action, saying that I am the doer, then it becomes karma. So now that action is bound to bring its result. Okay? Every action is...
You mean every time I attach myself to it, it becomes...
Obviously.
Oh.
Only then it becomes a karma. Otherwise this fan is rotating. There is an activity happening, but it is not karma.
Correct.
If that fan makes you comfortable, the fan is not gaining any punya.
Correct.
Or if you are becoming uncomfortable, the fan is not incurring any sin. Huh? But you saying something and someone becoming comfortable, you saying something and then somebody becoming dukkhi, the papa and punya comes.
So then, if this is true, then I don't even want to do punya, because then it's going to get me again. Even if I'm doing punya, it is karma, and then it is getting me into that cycle of...
Of course, it becomes a cycle. But you should also know that punya brings you the result of joys, the joys that you experience now and then. And papa brings you the result of dukkha, which we have. No, a person cannot escape because you are in a constant flux of this action. Okay? So if you're going to say, well, since I want to escape, I'm not going to do anything, I am not doing itself becomes some doing.
Oh my God.
You see? So there is no escape from karma.
Wow.
There is no escape from karma, and karma will continue as long as there is doership existing, the ego exists.
Then how do we break it? Break the cycle?
Break the cycle is, there is only one way, and that is by knowing the nature of the self. As long as you are going to see the meaning of the word I as this limited entity who is a doer and an experiencer, karta and bhokta, till then this karma is applicable. The law of karma is also applicable. Doing punya brings sukham, doing papa brings dukkha. It is going to be applicable to you and me. But the moment one understands that the meaning of word I is not karta bhokta, but the meaning of word I is consciousness, which is the very substratum of this entire universe. So at this moment your understanding is that I am a part, a small little thing existing in the world. And when the knowledge dawns, it comes as I am not this a small little entity in this universe, but this universe is a small little speck that appears in this consciousness that I am. Now where is the place for any worship? The worship is washed away in wake of this knowledge, and therefore in knowledge there is liberation.
Wow. But Swamiji, why do we always hear this, पिछले जन्म का पाप होगा, then why या पुण्य होगा? Why everything doesn't settle in one life? Why we have to carry it forward?
Because
Why some people are doing such bad things
because
and
not
they're still
everything
happy?
can be experienced in one life. You know, you may have, let us take an extreme example, okay? And this example becomes a little poignant one and easy to understand, so it will take the point home. A person sets fire to a cowshed and the 10 cows die. You know, the pain of death that he has inflicted on those 10 living beings. Now, even if that person dies, one death, one painful death, it is one the justice is not served. So he needs to experience the pain of 9 more deaths, the suffering of 9 more deaths, the fear that comes when death approaches. This pain he has no. So even if a person is served a death sentence for killing hundreds of people, you are not really doing justice. And therefore, in existence, by the law of this existence, justice has to be served.
But then till that point, they seem to be having a good time.
So it is something of their past life.
Maybe.
It is not because he has murdered, he is having good time. It is not because he has murdered someone in this life and hence he is having good time. It is because something from the past which he had done good is still there giving him the fruits. And hence he is not getting caught, he is not going behind jail or something like that. So it's, Shri Krishna himself says, Gahana Karmano Gati, which means the way karma navigates itself to bring the results to you, to each person, is a very difficult thing. It is Gahana, it is extremely complicated way. It is very, very complicated thing. Just to make this point a little easier to understand, can I tell you a story?
Of course.
I don't know, this is just a story, but it makes a point clear. So on a stormy night, there is an old lady and her grandson. And this poor woman and this little boy had to cross over the forest to reach the other side of the forest to the next town. But having got caught up in a stormy night, they had to take shelter in a hut which was so dilapidated, but it just provided them a little place to sit under that roof till that storm subsided. And as they were waiting, one by one people, the passerbys, started coming in, and the rain, the storm, the thunders and the lightning just kept on increasing, so much so that the lightnings kept falling all around the hut. All around the hut. So by the olden standards, these people said that perhaps this lightning is coming to kill one of us, and therefore it will not stop till it happens. So they said that for the safety of others, one has to try. So the other 10 people who had gathered over there, one by one they went out and it didn't hit. So the turn came to this old woman and this little boy, and they said, "You are the culprit," and they kicked her out. The moment they threw this old woman out, the lightning struck that hut and killed the rest of the 10. How did these all 10 people come together? They had to die getting struck with a lightning, and this is how the karma works, brought them together that night. So it's a very complicated.
It is.
It is a very complicated way in which the karma brings the fruits to you. Instead of wanting to know how does the karma operate, it is better to know that since karma operates, let me be very alert and cautious. Let me do my karma, let me do the actions very consciously. Let my actions not create suffering, but let my actions create harmony.
Now that you told the story, the first thing that comes to my mind is it was destined then that the 10 people would die this way. So then is life predestined?
Karma, but what you call as destiny is also the karma phala. So by the very virtue of word karma phala, which means it is something that you have created through your own karma. So though there is destiny, but that destiny is not will of God, some fancy of some whim and fancy of some God, but it is something that one consciously, as in conscious being, has created. And since you have created, you also have the power to alter it. And therefore there is concept of Purushartha. Because that what has come to you as destiny, as prarabdha today, is also the Purushartha which you had done previously. So by word destiny, we do not mean that it is fatalistic.
Or somebody is actually sitting in writing.
Why does God have got to do some strange things like that? If there is a God who's just planning things for you, I feel that God has got nothing else. I mean, very, very silly God. And this is the reason why, in Vedikas, the Purva Mimamsakas don't even have a concept of God who is creating your destiny. They say it is karma. You are either doing punya or papa, and this punya papa comes to you later on as sukha dukkha, as the karma phala.
And then there is no heaven or hell?
Of course, there is heaven and hell, means there could be everything.
But right?
Depending upon how the karma phala is. If something can be experienced by you in the present frame of body, you will get it. But if it cannot be experienced in this frame of body, it will come later, in a different frame, in a different level of existence. That's all that the Shastra says.
Oh.
So we are not saying that there is no heaven and hell. We are saying there is. But it is all karma phala.
Alright. So Abhijit, what's your take on science and spirituality? Are they connected?
Of course, when we are going to say, yesterday too I said this, science is a body of knowledge which is born out of inference. Right? It is born from inference. So it is inferential knowledge. Therefore, inference becomes the source through which the knowledge is generated. You understand this? Or
not very clear yet. Yeah.
Not quite clear. But I'll just say this because this is, where it has to be very short. Maybe you could give me a little more time next time just on this topic.
Okay, yeah, sure. So
I'll just go ahead.
Please,
Wait.
Of course.
Get at least the framework in which we have to, you'll have that to work. Science is inferential knowledge. When we are talking about spirituality, Moksha Shastram, over here, the source of knowledge is Veda. It is not inference. So where inference operates and where Veda operates are two different areas. Just as the area in which your eyes operate and the area in which your ears operate are two different areas, your eyes are also the source of generating knowledge, the knowledge of colors and forms. Your ears are also a source of generating knowledge of sounds. But where the eyes operate is not interfered by the ears. And that's why though you have these two different apparatuses, they have their own areas to work. So also the Veda has got its own area to operate, whereas inference has its own area to operate. And therefore there is no question that whether they are at loggerheads or one is right and one is wrong. That what can be shown by inference is shown by inference, and that what is shown by the Veda is shown by the Veda alone. It cannot be shown by inference.
science says that the universe was born out of probably Big Bang theory. What does I'm very curious. What does Veda? Because I don't know what is the Veda's story for the birth of universe.
Again, I have to tell you that the Veda is not over here to tell you how the universe was born. Because if this is something which the inference can prove and discover, why would you need Veda to tell you that? Veda should be able to show you something which the inference at any point is not able to show you.
But inference, I mean, there is no proof for Big Bang theory as well. Every day there is, a
So
new...
let that be there. So why should I say that Veda also says there is Big Bang?
But is there any reference in the scriptures?
Yes, of course. All that we are saying over here is that whatever way the world has come into existence, the world comes, the source is the consciousness. The world is something that comes from the consciousness, lives in the consciousness, and goes back to the consciousness. That is all that Veda is saying. And this consciousness is not something which is inferential. So this knowledge is also not inferential, and therefore we are not opposed. Hinduism, you will know, the Veda has never opposed science or scientific development ever. Much before our society sank into, after the invasions, etc., we never had any conflict of the scientists or the experimentists, people who wanted to experiment with the religious authority. Whereas if you look at the entire Christian Abrahamic religion's history, whether it is the church or the present day Islam, they are at loggerheads with science.
Interesting.
They are loggerheads with science. Veda is not. Because we are saying it is not something that we have any argument about. Why should your ears get into an argument with the eyes when your eyes are going to say it is a red rose?
Alright. Swamiji, one last question before we wrap up. What is the significance of Om, sound or even visually, the symbol?
Om is a sound. Sounds, we have given them visual representations.
So the symbol is not as important.
It can be considered holy, but if you are going to write Om in Tamil, it is different. You are going to write Om in Malayalam script, it is different.
Oh.
If you are going to write in Telugu script, it is different. If you are going to write that Om in Sharda script, it is different. If you were to write that Om in Nandinagari, it was different. If you were to write Om in Brahmi Lipi, it was different. If you were to write Om in Punjabi script, it is Gurumukhi, it is going to be different. Mm-hmm. If you are going to write it in Gujarati script, it is different. If you are going to write in Devanagari script, it is different. But the sound Om is Om. Its representations are different.
So what is the significance of the
significance of the sound? If somebody ever asked you that can the whole Veda be summarized in one sentence, then we can say yes, it can be. It can be captured in one sentence, and that is Tattvamasi. Can you just capture this in one sound, in one word, and we will say yes, Om.
Oh.
Now you see how potent this sound is, that it contains everything that is there in the Veda inside it. Om is the consolidated, encapsulated form of the entire knowledge which emerges from Veda. Veda, which is about 100,000 mantras, if can be put and captured in just one sound, if the synopsis was to be put only in one word, we would say it is Om.
Oh my God.
I don't think anywhere in the world it has been possible to bring such a vast body of knowledge only in this expression of one sound. Even you can reduce water to H2O. The word water reduces to H2O, but you cannot reduce it any further. This mighty body of knowledge is reduced only in one sound, Om.
So meditating on that sound can help?
Of course. Meditation will help. Meditating on that sound will help. And meditating upon the meaning which is generated by that sound will not only help, but will liberate.
On that note, Swamiji, thank you so much. Thank you so much for enlightening us. Thank you so much for talking to us. And as I said, if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to write it in the comments section. If you've liked our video, please share so that it reaches out to everyone.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you so much.
Thank you, Padmini.
Thank you so much, Swamiji.